Law seemingly is all about equality with its neutral and one for all language. However, when we really look at the liberal legal subject, we see quite a different picture. The free and rational legal subject is an abstract figure born out of Enlightenment thinking England. Its creators were white middle-class men who cracked open and reconstituted the feudal and mercantilist orders of Western Europe and did it in the name of reason, as Duncan Kennedy states. These individuals wanted their own view of the world projected, whilst protecting and furthering their own interests in capital and property. The idea of liberalism developed and championed individual justice based on the ideas that all individuals are free and rational. It's sneaky in terms that semantics evoke ideas of universality and the brotherhood of man, but in fact, the language is weighted against them, being that social reality is not all men are born free and equal or have the same opportunities. A person who is born to a wealthy family and has more opportunities for study and work will undoubtedly be less likely to commit crime than a person with a mental illness from a broken home. Their social reality has reduced the number of rational and free decisions they can make. They do not come before the courts as an individual has complete free will and choice, yet is judged as one. Now we will critique the liberal legal subject, first through genital mutilation for both males and females, and then through intersex surgeries.
Right, so one way that we can criticise the liberal legal subject is through looking at the practice of and the acceptance of male genital cutting in Western nations such as the US and the UK. Dr. Dyke Hemmer, who was the paediatric specialist in University of Washington, said that it's practically the norm for people in America to have the circumcision done on their children. In fact, to the extent that 75% of male Americans are circumcised. Now it's not as accepted in the UK. Like only about 10% of people are circumcised, but it's nowhere near as frowned upon as female circumcision and female genital mutilation. Like we must talk about why it's accepted in the West. Like why is this? And the argument was put forward by Fox and Thompson that it's to initiate boys into this role of masculinity, being the stronger sex, and that males they can withstand this pain from a young age, but the females couldn't. So that's why we in the West we feel like it's like an initiation into masculinity, and it feeds into the liberal legal subject that men are being forced into accepting this concept from an early age that males are the stronger sex and can endure the painful operation, bear the mutilation, whilst the females can't.
To do that, it's already been made clear that we need to critique the liberal legal subject, and another way we can do this is by using female genital mutilation. For our purposes, we will refer to female genital mutilation as FGM. FGM clearly highlights some key aspects of the liberal legal subject. Our normalised view of this reports women to be vulnerable and in need of saving. We see it as our duty to protect them from the abhorrent crimes being protected against them, and we do not seek to understand the reasons behind these operations being done. Westernised views. In 2012, the UN said it was going to take massive steps to try and eliminate FGM globally. Yet it could be argued that the UN is simply the epitome of the classic liberal legal subject. It's run by Western democracies and will therefore invariably spread Western views across the world and prioritise those views over others. However, it is important, as you mentioned, to say that these views are not only negatively impacting upon women, they are also adversely affecting men, as they are, as you said, having to endure this pain at a young age and then grow up restricted in what they are able to do sexually. We must also analyse the conditions under which FGM takes place. MGM, male genital mutilation, takes place in often sterile, clean and regulated hospitals in the Western world. However, FGM usually takes place in third world countries where medical advances have not been spread across the country and is therefore dirty, unclean and can often lead to disease and the operation going wrong. People have even died because the operation has gone so wrong. Would it then, and we must consider whether it would change our view of FGM and MGM if MGM was actually taking place under the same circumstances as MGM was, and that if it was taking place in clean conditions, would we accept it as a more normal way of life and a more normal thing to do? And the legal subject also spreads the idea of autonomy. The fact that most operations involving these kind of operations involve children, where they are very young, can seem to be completely defeat the objective of autonomy contained within the liberal legal subject. Their choice is not merely taken away from them, they are simply never given one, and therefore never have the chance to educate themselves before undergoing the operation.
I read an article on Goldberg the other day, and it was just basically talking of how the doctors are sculpturing the body of people. Let me just explain that to you. So what happens is that for an intersex, if you're born with a male penis and maybe you've got a female hormones, for instance, now you have the ability to give birth. initially what the doctors used to do was, if your penis is not of given length, they just cut it off and give you an artificial vagina, because it all goes back to that whole okay, yeah, this person has got female hormones, female reproductive system, so they'll be able to give birth rather than giving sperm and things like that. So it all goes back to this whole, the doctors can decide from your reproductive system what you should grow up to be, what gender you should grow up to be. So basically the doctors are determining what you should grow up to be. Yeah, we'll have to cut that out as well. They adopt this phallometric spectrum. That's just what I've already explained just now, the size and take into consideration the reproductive organs. But yeah, having read that article, I entirely agree with doctors intervening, because I feel that the doctors are in the best position to actually determine the gender of the child, in the sense that if you leave it to the parents to do, the parents are obviously going to be affected psychologically, emotionally, so they wouldn't be able to think right in the best interest of the child. And as well, in line with what has been done before, this whole phallometric spectrum seems really certain, seems really rigid, because it all goes back to the society. You can't, in the society, it's either you're a male or you're a female. You can't be in between. So that's just my take on it, basically. But
okay, in taking into consideration what you just said, I think I agree with you to a certain extent, but I have to disagree in the sense that I feel your binary understanding of sex as being a male or female is kind of outdated, and I believe that there's no there's no way that you can say that life is meant to be a male or female. There's also different types of people within life, and I believe that you need to accommodate them within society. Also, to counteract your view that doctors should be best left to consider the sex of a child, you also mentioned that parents should not make the decision either, and I also believe that is also true, because I believe it should be an independent decision of the child. And to make that decision at such a young age where the child does not have the ability to consent, I believe that it actually affects the child's rights. It's right to be free to make decisions that affect them for the rest of their lives. Also, to further go into to the point of the medical practice dominance, I also think it's important to realize that many countries are now coming to accommodate intersex people by anti-discrimination laws, and even Malta has even adopted a holistic approach where they actually recognize intersex people as actually an independent sex. So all I know is
In the West, we see FGM as far more offensive than male circumcision. The notions of strong, willful men have desensitised the population to the fact that men, and in these instances young boys, can feel pain too, and that we should thus feel just as strongly about female cutting as male cutting. The idea that society is a domination of women by men reflects this fact somewhat. Men, the higher class, can undergo the procedure, women, the lower class, cannot. It says that boys cannot feel pain, which simply isn't true and harmful to their long-term health. The current approach towards intersex surgery is heavily steeped in the doctrine of the liberal legal subject, to the detriment of these individuals. We try hard to fit people into binary categories, which has no health benefits at such a young age. And as was discussed at the opening, we need to engage with marginalised groups and give them a voice so the best possible decisions are made for them, and not by a group of people who have no experience of their issues. In conclusion, the liberal legal subject is archaic and belongs to a bygone period. It has masked itself as champion of the people for too long. It sweeps too many disparate people into a narrow definition that does not reflect the wonderful diversity of the human race. This creates inequality and unfairness in our legal system by treating different people alike.